Hi guys, it's Weta and I'm here with a tutorial, if I can keep the ornaments from rolling around, and it's on something that's been around, but I've absolutely loved doing it. This one's dusty. It's been out on display for a while. Whoops, that's it. But I love doing these, and here's just a few. This is, I believe in decorations for Halloween. This is one, and it's a tucked ornament. It's a no-sew project. This is one that I did a long time ago, and I used sequins on it. This is one that has curves on it. It's for Halloween. Again, sequins here. This is with the fabric from the very first thing I ever, well, not the very first thing I ever tried to sew, but the second thing that I ever tried to sew. I just love these, and I used sequins here and on the bottom, and I think that's really what I sort of wanted to show you is I've got a big sequin here at the top and then sequins around it to hold it. I've got sequins at every corner and a sequin on the bottom, and that's how that one was finished. This one I used sequins all over, but I used a bead cap at the top and some string. The Halloween has got a bead cap that kind of looks like a funky little hat here, and some stacked buttons on the bottom, and then I just used rat tail there. Sequins, another bead cap, just a regular sewing pin here, and then sequins on the base. Here I just used corsage pins. This one was obviously fairly detailed, but here at the top I didn't use a bead cap or anything. It's just some sequins, some lace that matches this area, and then I put little sequins at all of the little corners of that particular ornament. These two are very simple. This one, the top and the bottom portions are a match-up, whereas on this one I split them, and both of them are just finished with corsage pins. When you're doing this project, I found that I invested in some corsage pins, and then I use nail polish to color them whatever color I need. So I'm going to run through this. I've done a lot. I've got a slightly different way of doing pretty much the same thing that everybody does, but you'll need a foam ornament. The thing about this, it's very important that it is the brand Smooth Foam, and it does make a huge difference. It is literally Smooth Foam, and you can't even see that. There we go. Okay, Smooth Foam, that's the brand, and it's because theirs is denser and it works better. If you're going to have your fabric go from the top of your ornament, from the Arctic to the Antarctic, without stopping in the middle, you'll want to just take a nail file, this one is for artificial nails, and gently remove that equator. Okay, if you're not going to go over the equator with your fabric, you don't need to do this, and in fact the equator that is marked here, see if you can see that, makes a very good line for you to cut by. But if you're doing something where you are going to go over there, go over it with your fabric, then I would definitely, it just takes literally one or two, and you remove it and it's fine. So I keep this is in my little toolkit that I keep at all times. And you need a pen, and the poles are marked on the Smooth Foam. If you can see these little not three, it's more like 6 little dots right there, that tells you that you're at one of the poles, and then on the other end you have this little area marked. So it's really easy. Not only is Smooth Foam the best as far as when you're trying to cut it and you're trying to tuck it in. It holds up better, but it also marks the equator and the poles for you. So you just want to take a pen, and I freehand it, all right? I freehand it mostly, but you could certainly get a tape measure out and measure everything. I don't. I start here and I go, okay, I'm going to come down. I found that invariably it's easy to turn the ornament rather than to move my pen. So I've got my line. And if I'm going to just do a very basic one, then I go opposite here, and I start going, okay, it's going to be from here to here, and I'm trying to line it up visually so that all I have to do is just sort of hold my hand and twist the ornament, and I find I get much better results in here. I'm looking here, and if you're off a little bit, it really doesn't matter. Okay, so, and it looks like I might be off just a little bit. I don't do anything terribly precise anyway with these, and they turn out beautifully. To cut, you'll need an X-Acto knife, and here's where you do need a sharp one. If it's not cutting easily, then you probably need to change the blade. So just take the knife, safety first, and stick it in, and that's how deep I go. And I just cut all the way down. And I'm not going to cut anymore because it's making that squeaky noise. I don't like to hear that. It doesn't always do that. So I will finish this part later. I have one that is already marked badly. As I said, I just kind of randomly, actually it wasn't quite random. I went wide, narrow, wide. Oh, let's go split the difference, and then maybe a little narrow, and then maybe not quite as wide. That was my thinking. I'm going to take this, and on the one section that I'm going to tuck for you and show you, I'm going to erase that equator. I didn't do it to begin with because I thought I was going to cut around and didn't. Okay, so now that you've marked it and you've cut it, you just need a little bit of fabric. It doesn't take much. One charm pack will do so many ornaments. And in fact, I'm getting out fabric from a charm pack that I have already used. I think, yeah, this is, whoops, I've got ornaments going everywhere. I'm getting into the charm pack that I used to make this ornament. Take a glue stick, make sure it's one that dries clear, and this is probably not a good example because I'm going to go different color. Here's why. I also keep in my little stack, and I probably should go through this, I keep white out so that once I've made my cuts, I can go over the lines if I'm using a light color fabric, because that will show through. It's right there. So you don't want that. So I'm going to get a darker color out. There we go. Alright, so I'm just going to stick the glue, and this is not a critical step. I like to do it because it does tend to hold the fabric in place while I'm tucking. There, the craft is actually called, and K-I-M-E-K-O-M-I. Kimikoma. Okay, yeah, that's what I get for trying to think in my head and talk at the same time. It is a Japanese word, and this did originate. I'm trying to make sure that, one, I only have one piece of fabric, and I want to make sure that this does fit. So I'm going kind of at a, there we go, and smoothing it down. There's a great book that you can get on Amazon, and I did get that book. There is a website that taught me all about this, and it's another YouTuber, and I'll try to put a link down below. Ornament Designs. She hasn't been active in a while. I found that these little scissors, curved scissors, work really well, and I kind of eyeball it. She does beautiful, making sure I don't want to cut it too close to where I'm tucking. She makes absolutely gorgeous ornaments, and so I was watching her videos, and this has been so many years ago, and then I bought the book on Amazon. I went to her Etsy page and I bought the little toolkit that she sells. That's awesome. I wish she were, I don't know if she's going to make any more videos or not. This is an applique tool. You don't have to have this. This is not sharp, but I found that this makes the best tucking tool. If you don't have an applique tool, you don't have to have one. Anything that'll tuck, this works perfectly well. It's a really heavy duty upholstery needle, and let me find where I did get close to it. So to tuck it with the needle, you would just go through and you do this and you tuck it in. I found that after a while my thumb does get sore if I'm doing a lot, so I do like this applique. It's just easier on my hands. There are people who will take that needle and go through and open up all of their lines. They'll take the needle and drag it through. It's not my preference, but again, you do what works for you. There's a ton of ways of doing these. Some people like to put batting underneath the fabric, and it gives a puffy ornament. I'm perfectly happy going around and tucking and doing just as I'm doing right now. Now I try to make sure I know where I'm tucking. So sometimes I peek. And until you get really, you've done a couple ornaments, I would recommend that you keep your lines straight, that you don't try any curvy lines. Those get a little bit more challenging, and you see I'm really tucking it in. It's not going anywhere. That's why that glue is actually optional. I do it because it makes it easier to tuck. And then when I get to the ends, I just sort of trim off the excess here. Sometimes I tuck it all in. There we go. And I'm just going to tuck all this in. And that is one section tucked. And these just look so pretty. This is a Halloween one that I've got completely tucked in. I didn't get to finish it, and I'll apologize for all the ums. Me, bronchitis, just not quite over it, but had to get out and do something. There are a lot of things that you can use, and you can tell, excuse me, there are a lot of things you can use to put in the crevices here. Because I have it, I tend to use rat tail. I have it because I make a lot of necklaces, and I buy it by the spool, so I have rat tail in different colors. You could use twine. Again, you could use the sequins. Once you've gotten used to doing this, you may even want to try some beaded trim. This will not tuck, so you kind of want to understand where things are going to meet and cross and all of that before you dive off into the pearl trim. You can use lace, and again, kitchen twine I think might be really pretty with this fabric right here. Give a totally different look, but I think I'm probably going to do that with this particular ornament. Okay, so one of the things you want to try to do is avoid obvious seams. Now, I do have an obvious seam, and I'll show it to you on this Halloween ornament right here. It's right there, because there was just no way, because I had all these little curves and all these little pieces, there was no way to prevent from having one area that's tucked in. And I could put, and I may still do it, a little focal something right there to cover that. I don't know. I may put something in a couple places. Sequins come in handy for that. I did this one before I knew what I was really doing, and I cut a piece from here to here and tucked it in, and from here to here and tucked it. Nightmare. That was foolish. I got ahead of myself and my experience in doing it, but it turned out. So there are ways to do this, but this one is a very good example. And I'm going to have to look for a minute and see if I can figure out. Okay, this is top and bottom where my fingers are. So the first thing I did is I put this cord all the way around it. And then the ends are tucked in behind one of these cords running from top to bottom, because I will cover the top and I will cover the bottom, and this way all my seams are covered on this ornament. This one, I don't think there's a way that I can actually make sure that happens, because they're not matching up down here, so I can't run from top to bottom. And I've got all different areas. So here's how you put the cording on. You need your glue stick again. I use a toothpick. I generally measure my cord and I cut it just a little long. So let's go to the white so you can see. So from sort of the center there, okay, down to here. Give myself a little extra because you can always trim it. And I just let it roll, so now I'm going to have to make sure. I don't know that that's the one that I measured, but it will fit right there. I don't think that's the one. I don't think it really matters. It's a little long, so I'll go between the bats and the spiders. All right. So I'm going to scrape a little off and put it right there. And I want to put a little, make it on camera, at the center. So just scrape a little off. We're going to press this in a little bit so the glue is just a little extra insurance. And I do put a fair bit of glue. You want some that's going to dry clear. I'm trying to be a little careful. Okay. That's about all we need. So we put the cap on it. Take the cord, press it in, and kind of work it in. Now that purple shows. I smeared the purple a little bit. That's not ideal, but it's not going to hurt anything either because it will dry clear. So I kind of work it in. And then this is where the applique tool comes in handy. I tuck that in. So that's tucked in, and I'm just going to make sure it's pressed in. And there we go. I've got the cord down. Now to finish up, I have tucked in this, and this one is not quite dry because I did just finish it. I love doing these so much, and again, there are so many people that do these that I can't give credit to everybody, but I will try to link to Ornament Designs, because she's the one that got me started in it, and if I can think of it, I'll put that book in there. Now, a lot of ways to finish it off. I'm going to use this bead cap. I love using bead caps. Here's a few more that I tend to use, and I'm pulling out just a couple more. You saw that funky hat that I have. And I've got some gold ones in here as well. Generally, I just buy one color if I can. And you'll notice this is one that I've recycled from another project. I took the other project apart and I had colored, this was a silver bead cap, and I colored it with a little bit of gold, and I have no idea what else. So I'm going to, this is how I color my corsage pins. I use nail polish. I'm just going to go with this leftover pin. It's left over from one of my other projects. It matches the bead cap fairly well. So that's what I'm going to do. And on the bottom, I'll tell you, I'm kind of making do. I was going to stack buttons, and I realized I don't really have good blue buttons. And I thought, well, maybe I have just a half pearl in blue. And the answer to that was no, because I was thinking of doing something kind of like I did on this one, where I just stacked a half pearl and a button. And again, I've used, there's an arrangement of sequins on the base, and I've just done different things on these ornaments, so please use whatever you've got. But I didn't really have what I needed, so what I did is I took a white button and used some Nouveau drops, and I'm just setting this aside and letting it dry, but this will go on the base of my ornament. I've got to figure out where this is now. So it'll either go here or here. I think I'm going to put a pin in that so it will fit. I will hot glue it right there once the Nouveau drop has dried in the middle of the button. Get creative and just use what you've got for these. They are so fun to do. Okay, so here we go. Normally I put this in like a coffee cup or something like that to work on, and it makes it a little easier. To do the strings, if you use a nice thin string, like I did with this particular ornament, like this, then you don't have any problem. It could actually go through the top of your bead cap, but this won't. So I'm just going to cut off a fair length, which is, I don't know, 10 inches. And this is my lineup, bead cap and pin. What's going to happen, and this is not my favorite design, but it's going to have to come out and around like this. You can't see like this because it cannot all fit through that tiny hole. So I've strung it on one side, loop it around. I will string it on the other, and I'm not leaving that to chance, okay? I've got a little tacky glue here, clear tacky glue, and I'm going to put that in the center of my bead cap. Excuse me, in the center of my center, and the pin is going to have to push down through that. And I'll pull my, there we go. I think that's about right. Push that down, press it in, and voila. And that should be good and secure with that glue in there. So, and I think actually I want it, there we go. Yes, much better. Now that's balanced. So once this is dried, once my button design has dried with the blue on it, then I will glue it at the bottom and I will be done. And I love this. It is so relaxing to do while I'm watching TV. I hope you guys give it a try. It is so much fun. It doesn't take very many supplies, just what you have on hand. But if you do, let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. Hit subscribe to see more videos. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I do try to get back with you. Bye, guys.